Hi, I'm Adam C and welcome to a winter dilemma. We've come to Somerset for a classic car meet with a TVR, Wolseley, a couple of Rovers. That's about it. But there is another meet that we're going on to afterwards, and for that reason we've brought the fridge. However, this meet was hosted at Wadey's Cider, so I was able to go inside and grab some ciders, put them in the fridge. It is actually snowing currently. So the reason we brought the fridge is because the next meet is for hatchbacks, and this is the only other than the 944 and the MGB, they are kind of we're taking the fridge. Oh. We continued driving through Cider County until I found something quite unexpected. We've just gone past another car meet. I'm turning. Another car meet. There was a TVR Tomorrow in there. Sorry, person whose driveway this is. The Bentleys. Oh, there's two TVR Tomoras. How have we, what? We are 13 minutes away from the car meet we were meant to go to, and we literally drove past it. And then we got the Mark II Escort, and whilst we had the V8S at the last location, you got two Tomoras, I can see two Chimeras, a Griffith, and another V8S. But around the back, perhaps a bit out of the way, we've got a pair of slammed Audis on air ride, including this Audi RS6, fairly new, next to the Alfa Romeo. Even now, we have some new arrivals rolling in as the Mark II Escort rally car rolls out. A few more arrivals, the GMC making a little bit of noise, and the Chevy following up the rear. Apparently this TVR V8S was used by Gran Turismo to get the proportions correct for the car in the game. And this Focus wasn't. Now I'm wondering, being a hatchback, whether this Up GTI with the Moo number plate is heading to the... Oh no, it's not, it's going left. And this video's sponsor, Fanhome, is giving me my own chance to build my very own Lamborghini Revuelto. So you must recognise this as the bonnet of a Lamborghini Revuelto in 1:8 scale, finished in Orancio Argos, which translates roughly to Orange Argos. They must be fans. Issue 1 starts very easily. You've got the two headlight brackets that you are to insert the headlight holders within. And here we are with the bonnet, obviously, and the headlights with the light holders in them, and the screwdriver that will come in handy later on. For issue 2, I took the front end of the Lamborghini and pushed in the headlights. Later was to insert the base for the splitter, and then I noticed that the headlights I put in were the wrong one, so I put in the headlight lenses, and then moved on to the next part, which was to push the side indicators into the body of the car. And this is where you join me now. Issues 1 and 2 completed of Lamborghini's flagship, the Lamborghini Revuelto, their V12 hybrid supercar. So we've got the bonnet, we've got the front end with headlights, including the actual lights here, which will be lit up once the model is complete. You can see the electrical adapters. You've got magazines with each issue of your subscription that tells you all the history about Lamborghini up to the production of the Revuelto, so information about the Countach and all its V12 flagship models, and detailed instructions of how to build each of these parts. Use my code in the video's description to build your Revuelto, and you can create a lineup like I am with Fanhome. We've just met the organisers. These happen every Sunday, and I just love the fact that we could stumble past it and then pop into another car meet that was completely unplanned with some TVRs as well, and a few pieces of Americana too. So 10 minutes away from the Haynes Museum, a 205 GTI just went past. We are a little bit late, it is coming up to 11 o'clock, so I don't know if everyone's going to be there, but we're going to look around the Motor Museum as well, because I've never really shown you that before, and then enjoy the rest of the day. After continuing our quest, seeing a lot of cars driving around the roads, we ended up at the Haynes Motor Museum, which looks like it could have been very busy with not just hatchbacks, so maybe we could have taken the Viper, which I wanted to, and would have perhaps been more enjoyable than the fridge. These are the cars I was more expecting to be here, the lineup of Fiat. I mean, it's a bit of an unsuspected hero of the day, but when was the last time you saw a Fiat Tipo here? And some JDM, including the DC5. There is a Mazda RX-7 that's not a well, it's kind of got a hatchback. The hatch being the glass bit, it is a hatchback. So I don't think they're overly strict about the theme. There is a TVR wedge being wiped down before its departure. After looking around the cars that were left in the show, I headed into the Haynes Motor Museum, apparently the largest collection of cars in the UK presented for the public, started by John Haynes in 1985, the founder of the Haynes Manual, with some of his personal collection, a great variety of cars that after visiting the gift shop, I walked in to show you around. So could this be the world's greatest collection of red cars? And what's striking currently is can't see any Ferraris yet. Of course, MG are also very much known for red cars. including, look, we've got MGC GT finished in, I think this is a tartan red, and another brand known for their use of the red colour is Alfa Romeo. This 6C does have a straight 6, but only 1750cc, so a 1.8 litre straight 6. Of course, we've got a lot more Italian pedigree here with Alfa Romeos, with both spiders here finished in more orangey red and then the more pinky end of the spectrum here as well. We've got an 80s wedge here in the shape of the Maserati Merak SS that has kind of fit between another Alfa Romeo, this beautiful Alfa Romeo 2600 Spider, and then Lancia we next come to with their Flavia Cabriolet. So a lot of these are hardtops. This is the Cabriolet variant next door to another open top car, the second Riley for the day. And rather surprisingly, we have a red two-tone Morgan three-wheeler. Now Morgan started with three-wheelers from the very early 1900s and then moved on to four-wheel cars in the late 1930s. This is an early one. They're still making three-wheelers today, although they are no longer allowed to use the V-twin without any kind of covering over it. So now they've got a cover over the engine for safety standards, and they use a three-cylinder Ford unit. Now we next come to a Mazda MX-5 with the bravest wheels of the day. It's got red mini lights on it. This one, the Unos Roadster, so has been imported to the UK here. But of course, I'm heading over and have been drawn to the American section with the Mustang Cabriolet, the Corvette C5, and I think you can see where we are going, the Dodge Viper RT10. So this is a Gen 1 Viper, my GTS is a Gen 2. Whilst they do look the same with the headlights, these headlights were actually initially intended for the BMW Z1 to use, and then BMW didn't want them anymore. They changed the design, changed their mind, so Dodge or Chrysler bought the batch of them for the Viper. The headlights were meant to be a similar design to this in the concept, but this is what they ended up with, thanks to BMW, with the kind of self-leveling there and the spirit bubble, kind of washer fluid if you want to call it that. So yes, the Gen 1, it's got a more smooth bonnet with no vents or anything in it other than these two up here, and you can tell a Gen 1 because it has side pipes. So the Gen 2, they bettered the back pressure by having rear exit exhaust, but that is one way to tell a Gen 1 from a Gen 2. So they obviously made Gen 2s of the RT10 as well, the convertible version with no external door handles. It's just got one handle inside there to get in and out, and then you can erect a roof over here. It clips in very neatly there and there, much like your Miatas. I still can't see any Ferraris, it's really bizarre. And by the three-spoked beauty is a Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, concluding the American lineup. And then we come to another car close to my heart. This is an AC, a 428. Made by an Italian styler called, I think, Frua. So they extended the wheelbase of the Cobra, kept the 428 cubic inch engine, which is a 7-litre V8 by Ford, and then created this Italian designed two-seater. You could come in a hardtop or a cabriolet. They only made 81 of these, but they could not compete with the competition at the time because they were too highly priced and people weren't really fond of the AC name twinned with the Italian styling. They didn't really believe in it. So to manage that 428 7-litre V8, you've got an automatic gear shifter there, rather crudely placed, and again, Italian styled interior. But I am sure you have noticed right in the middle the Bertone designed Lamborghini Countach S with those girthy wide arches. Apparently Countach is a rough translation of wow, or awesome in Italian. And next door to that we have a replica, a recreation of the Jaguar XK-SS. Now a rear one of these, they sell for about 8 million, but this one has been built using Jaguar parts on a Jaguar chassis, so it is a recreation. It's not just a crude replica on an aftermarket chassis. This is a beautiful car. It was the road-going Jaguar D-Type, and with stunning curves. You can see the D-Type shape there in the back, obviously made for consumers' use. There is the Jag interior here. Rare to see one in red. Normally they're like a British racing green, or maybe a dark blue or cream. We've got quite a few more Brits here. We've got the Daimler Dart by the Alvis. Of course, you might have noticed the Datsun 240Z, a very orangey shade of red, next door to the Jensen Healey, and even a Mark 1 Porsche Boxster. Continuing the Porsche theme is the 356, and then we've got the Austin Healey 100. Here is another look at the MGC GT and a Rochdale Olympic. I am literally just reading this one. One of the first cars with a monocoque glass fiberglass body, and you can tell because fiberglass allows you to create a lot more curves. So look, this whole front end would otherwise be, you know, a standard separate chrome bumper, but it is part of the single piece bodywork on this that has been moulded into this shape. It is actually quite stunning. Looks similar to a 356 when you see it next to it. Very small car, little two-door, and another two-door Jaguar is another one with my initials, the AC Ace. Obviously, this is the car that Carroll Shelby took, shoehorned a 289 to create the early Cobras, and then added wide arches and developed into the Cobra 427 SEs, etc. Then stemmed the Daytona Coupe, but this is the original British Ace, the Ace that he saw so much potential in. Look at that single roll arch there in the middle by the two seats. Then we have a Turner 950. You can tell by its size, especially next to the already small AC Ace. It was based on an Aston A30, which is their tiny little van slash family car next door to a Sunbeam Tiger, which is effectively Sunbeam's version of the AC Cobra. So you had the Sunbeam Alpine, which had the non-V8, I can't remember if it's a straight 4 or straight 6, and the Tiger was the one with the big V8 in it. So a few little design tweaks, but not quite as much road presence as the Cobra. We then have the Morgan Plus 8, and an early Ginetta, this one, the G15, and I love these, Marcos GT from 1969. And distinctively, no Ferraris in the Red Room whatsoever. So I'm sure there should be another shrine to Ferrari somewhere else here as we exit the Red Room and enter a room of quirkiness. Look, the Jensen CV8, and we also have a Faisal Vega next door to the Alvis. This is the drop head coupe. You've got that fabric roof there, and a Citroen SM with its Maserati V6. And one of the cars I didn't really point out is this Bristol 403. You might notice on early Bristols they have the kidney grille. So pre-war BMW designs were taken by Bristol and were allowed to use after the war, so that genuinely is a BMW design that Bristol, a British company, after the war were able, due to a loophole, able to use. We've got more Brits in this room with the gorgeous Series 2 Continental drop head coupe and another Continental convertible, and then obviously the Continental GTC at the end with its chrome wheels on display and cream interior with the tan roof as well. E-Type Series 3 with the V12, Porsche 911, and then the Gordon Keeble, the only car to have a turtle on its badge. It's a British car with Italian styling and an American Chevy V8. But into the next room we have very much like a my dad used to have one of these collection called the Memory Lane here. So we've got loads of 1960s and 70s vehicles, including the 105E Anglia, much like the one Ron Weasley drove. And remember, all of these cars, these were a private collection from John Haynes, who unfortunately passed away in 2019. But these were all kept, serviced and drivable on the roads. You've noticed they all have their own number plates, all are road going. They've got a in-house mechanics team keeping them all here for everyone to see and are drivable as well. Look at this little thing. It's not a BMW accessory, it's a Heinkel Cabine, which means cabin. Tiny little cabin, of course, the front door here to enter into. This one does have a reverse gear. A lot of bubble cars do not, with a full 9.2 brake horsepower. And we can find a little Austin Mini here next door to a BMW Mini Cooper into the next section with a few more quirks that I'll have a look at in a little bit. But obviously I'm getting distracted by the bright yellow Di Tommaso Pantera from 1972. Another example of Italian styling but with an American heart. It's got the big Ford V8 in the middle. They made 7,000 Di Tommaso Panteras. This one quite an early example with the kind of subtly flared arches. The later ones like the GTS and the GT5 did have massive flared arches, big Countach inspired spoiler on the back. But look, that quad pipe there, you know you're dealing with a lot of power. But if you want quirks, you will love this. This is a Tatra. It's a Czech car, so in the Czech Republic this was made, built to compete with the BMW 7 Series in kind of size, but the engine is actually air-cooled, and in the back a 3.5 litre V8 that is rear mounted. To me it reminds me of like a large MG Maestro or something like that, but this is Italian styling once again. We move on to another car appropriate for this meet, the Peugeot 205 GTI. This one the 1.6, they did make a 1.9 as well. We got the BMW 2002, and then on to the first gen of the Golf GTI, another example that would fit into today's meet. The Volkswagen Beetle Cabriolet and a Trabant as well. We've also got the Renault Caravelle, which is their kind of attempt to penetrate the American market. Look at that tiny Renault badge on the front there. It wasn't very successful in the end, but what was the 280 SL, this one called the Pagoda, because when it has the hardtop on it, it has a pagoda-like shape to it. And then kind of its predecessor, the 190 SL, and randomly a Hillman Imp with an Elf hanging from the front, obviously showing off that it is rear-engined as well. We've got the rickshaw, and another hot hatch for today, very appropriately. We've got the Citroen Saxo VCR, this one the Phase 2. It's got the twin headlight conversion here. I think apparently it is wearing a VTS badge, but this is the VCR, which is like the warm hatch, and then the VTS, which, look, there you go, which is what it's badged at, is the proper hot hatch version. Look at those aerodynamic wing mirrors. Then we have the XR2 Ford Fiesta Mark II, and a pair of more Triumphs, including the TR6 and the TR8. This is their first one to have the 3.5 litre Rover V8. So there was a bit of a sales flop, unusually, and I'm just heading down to something I'm being drawn towards. So past another Renault, this is the 4CV. It's a car made of wood. It's like another bubble car. It looks like a futuristic, look at the leather inside that. So oh, it must be a self-driving car. I'm kind of learning it as I'm looking around it. Where's the steering wheel?
It's the knob in the middle.
Oh, so you drive it with the knob, do you?
Yeah. So it's either a right-hand drive or a left-hand drive. Use.
Oh, okay.
Which side you decide to sit.
Oh, wow.
And forward to move it forward to back.
Yeah. So it is indeed an electric car made out of wood, specifically red cedar, which is as strong and light as aluminium. I'm not sure if you heard, but yes, it is controlled by that joystick there, so it can be driven by either the passenger or like whichever side you want to. This was made in 2017, a wooden, solar-powered and electric car. I don't think it was ever made to be road legal though. There's a lot of things I've noticed that maybe, I don't know about road safety and crashing with wood. There's not going to be any crumple zones here, so there are some drawbacks to having a wooden car. So you've got quite a healthy sized boot in the back there, because obviously all the electric motors are going to be underneath. And it can hit 60 miles an hour. Apparently you can do it in 7.9 seconds. This is a Welsh built car to show off how good wood is. So lightweight wood, it's quite strong, and some very futuristic stylings inside as well. And from the wooden car we have another red vehicle, not in the red room, the Mark I Toyota MR2, with some Christmas designs next door to that on this, which I'm going to have to read. It's a Hindustan Ambassador, Indian's national car that ruled the road for over 50 years. Next we have a DAF 44. See, they make lorries, but this is a Dutch car as well. But then we come to this quirk that we saw earlier. Now I'll come on to the safety elements later on. This was made by a Canadian. However, the dealerships were all in America, so a lot of Canadians could not actually buy one because of the trade deal between America and Canada. So after taking a lot of money from the Canadian government, they actually didn't sell a lot in Canada, so it cost the taxpayers a lot of money. So as I said, it's a safety-based car, almost Canada's DeLorean, they say. It's got a 3.5 litre V8 at the front, and with safety in mind, this, as I'm sure you can kind of tell, is an impact squeezing or hugging front bumper. So a rather ugly duck-billed platypus front end, energy-absorbing front bumper, and even integrated roll cage in the A and B pillars there as well, for more safety purposes. So good intentions, but apparently only about 1,400 survived today out of the 3,000 that were built, and these vents do not vent. They look similar to the Data Mazda Pantera rear lights, and then more energy absorption on the rear bumper as well. Here's a car I actually saw on the road when I was last in France, the Citroen Traction Avant. Actually the world's first mass-produced front-wheel drive car. A lot more groundbreaking features in this car as well. Very successful car for Citroen. And even more innovation came from the Citroen DS19, with things like aerodynamics, improving road holding, and obviously fuel economy as well. We've got the self-leveling suspension, front-wheel drive, everything like that. Even the doors with no pillars here, so pillarless doors for better visibility around. Even the self-leveling or self-returning back to center steering as well. So much here. Even these indicators, they were like an afterthought. They added here, became part of its legendary styling. So another innovative car from Citroen. And then from France we go back to the UK with a rather familiar front end, looking like the Rover SD1, but this is the 3500, i.e. the 3.5 litre Rover V8 Estate. So it's like a shooting brake, but a 5-door, and then you've got seats in the back that are rear facing, so when you're nearest and dearest are sat there and you get into an accident, the whiplash will probably kill them. So this was only a prototype. Apparently only 2 were made, but they scrapped the idea to create this car. So another rarity on show in the museum. But for a crazy car that did make production, we have the Aston Martin Lagonda. So gone with their 2-door sporty coupes, they made this luxury 4-door. The first car to ever have a digital dashboard. You can kind of see the flatness of it there. There's the massive fuel filler tank flap there. A sunroof for the rear passengers here. Obviously they had started going on to some more angular designs with the shape of the Aston Martin DBS from the late 60s. But obviously that Lagonda was such a unique design when it was released. This is kind of, well, not where they started, but a very early car, Aston Martin DB2 from 1952. So you've got that Aston Martin unique grille that the Lagonda never actually had. It's one of the very few Astons to not have that shaped grille, but you can kind of see it in, you know, the light to the grille design, but really doesn't have as much prominence as the DB2. We next come to a Lotus section with the Turbo Esprit right in the middle, looking beautiful in the John Player Special livery. And once we saw one of the first cars with a fiberglass monocoque, apparently this is the first car with a fiberglass monocoque from Lotus, the Lotus Elite, next door to the Lotus Elan, that of course inspired the Mark 1 MX-5. And then quite a fondness from me, the Lotus Europa. I love the rear ends here, obviously mid-engine Lotus. It almost looks like a bread van in styling. This one, the Series 2. And then we move on to the Jaguar section with the very prominent Jaguar XJ220 at front and centre. So obviously, originally these were meant to have a V12 and Lambo doors, and then later had the Metro V6 twin turbo. So it was a bit of a disappointment, but still a legendary car, reaching speeds of over 213 miles per hour. Then of course we've got the Series 1 E-Type, we've got the XK120, Jaguar Mark II, and a new section which houses a lot of Americana, but no Vipers. Obviously we have the Corvette section at first. We have the C3 Corvette and the C6 Cabriolet by the pearlescent C1 Corvette. Look at the pearlescent red in that white paintwork. But it is not the latest of the C1s, because you've still got that lovely curved down rear end, because the even later C1s had a rear end very similar to the C2. You can see that rear there. Obviously, DeLorean DMC-12 needs limited introduction. Guigaro styling, gull-wing doors, stainless steel bodywork, bit of a sales flop, but made legendary thanks to Back to the Future. And whilst I'd love to pay attention to every single car here, there are 2 that again draw my attention. We have a Tejero Ford GT40. So John Tejero, as well as making Cobra replicas, much like mine, they also make GT40 replicas. Personally, I think the shape, the styling, not quite as good as perhaps Superformance, but this is a more budget-friendly version than the Superformance ones when you're looking at GT40s. And then next door to that, we have a genuine AC Cobra. So this one being the narrower-bodied 289, so it's got the 5-litre 289 V8. Let's have a look. Yeah, 4727, so that's the 289 V8 on the earlier Cobras. Obviously no side pipes there either. Got a pair of Mustangs behind that. But as a motorsporting fan, this is where I am heading. Straight away we can see we've got the Mark 1 Escort Mexico, even a Sierra RS500 Cosworth, the homologated road-going version of the race car. This is a promo car for the Sierra Cosworth here, with a cut-out front end to reveal that Cosworth engine. So it has been retained and saved, probably not road legal in the slightest. Next door to a Ford Cordon Vere Special, and literally, I'm honest, that's a DIY kit car. I'm reading this DIY kit car that was a Ford Popular before, so like, you know, Angular Popular 100E, and now has been coach built into this small 2-door, 2-seater sports car. And then we've got some more race cars, including this little thing. And would you be surprised if I told you that this is a TVR Tuscan? So very early TVRs, they had names like Tuscan, Griffith, Grantura. There's various different names throughout their range. All looks fairly similar in styling, but this is a heavily modified TVR Tuscan race car next door to obviously the Camel Renault race car, Formula 1 car, and the Ferrari 360 Challenge car, and 911, and even a Lola Formula 1 car next door to that, with some go-karts and this little Lotus 11 Westfield. Then we have this Cougar, which was a kit car using Jaguar underpinnings and internals with controversial styling, and we have a recreation of the Jaguar D-Type. So going back to the XKSS we saw earlier in red, this is obviously what it stemmed from, the D-Type race car, however this one being a replica. And then we have a Healy Silverstone, similar to the Cougar. You can see similarities there, as well as the Allard and Ferrari Formula 1 car as well. Now, this is the first Ferrari that we have seen, but I've just seen there's more over there. Finally, from the red room, we have found a red Ferrari, the Ferrari 308, and then immediately we go to blue with the 400i. They're luxurious, still two-door, four-seater Ferrari, and another four-seater Ferrari, the 456 GTA. Onwards, we go to the Ferrari 250 GT Cabriolet. Anything with the 250 name is going to have so much value. The GT Cabriolet, whilst it's not a California Cabriolet, it is still basically the same car, but without that California name and styling. But even still, these are worth so much money. Again, with a V12, but only a 3-litre V12, you can say only. Gorgeous cream interior. Beautiful styling from Ferrari. And then another Pininfarina styled car, the Ferrari 360 Spider. Now you might have noticed I've been rushing the last part of this video because it is getting a lot busier in here. Oh, the 143. I personally have a large 143 collection of specifically Le Mans cars, and obviously in the Haynes Museum we've got 143s here, beautifully kept and presented, and then some like 1:8 scale cars there, the Ferrari P4 330 and the Aston Martin DBR1, a few pre-war. Oh, look at this, the 512S. Nick Mason's got one of those. I don't think it's that exact car, but I think we are coming to the end. So we'll do a walkthrough, quite a long walkthrough, with the four-door Cadillac in the American section, the DeVille, this one, and then we've got the Buick with that gaunt on the front end, another Caddy DeVille, and we've got the Ford County Squire Limited. Look at that, another station wagon, similar to that Rover we saw earlier on, with a Lincoln Continental town car, four-door. And I say four-door because a lot of these are two doors, but still have that same length. I love the design language of American cars back in the day. Obviously, these have flaps that cover over the headlights when not needed. Better aerodynamics if you want. If you don't need to show your headlights, then why show them at all? And then we have the El Camino, this SS, almost pickup, but it's basically an early Ute from America, the Dodge Charger, the Chevy Impala, and the Ford Thunderbird on the end. And the last part of the exhibitions here, we have the Williams Formula 1 celebration with Williams. We've got the Rothmans car, even the Renault Elf here, and the BMW. I remember this era when I was growing up. This is a Montoya car, this one, I believe. I love that BMW livery. Now that used to be a homage to some Grand Tour vehicles, some ex-Grand Tour cars, and I've got some intelligence about old Top Gear cars, old Grand Tour cars. They are now in a museum very far away. If you want me to go visit that and tell you more information about that, let me know, because I'd like to do more museum tours, especially in the winter. Always good fun. So I headed towards the exit, looking at the last few cars, walked out the doors and found another section that I completely missed that was based on innovation. That's where the Grand Tour collection used to be. So yeah, maybe I'll do some more museum walkarounds, or maybe car collection walkarounds, just to spice up content. I love finding out more about these cars and the quirky stuff, and I want to show you more about quirky history in automotive design as well. So I hope you enjoyed that video from the fridge. Make sure you hit that bell when you subscribe to be informed for all the next videos throughout the year, and I'll see you all at Adam C Fest on the 3rd of May. But for now, thanks for watching.